we have a little dispute over Lebanon. I say, you can do a little softer touch, Bibi. You don't have to knock down a building every time somebody walks into it that's from Hezbollah, because they've been wonderful to me, Israel, but they didn't want to do that attack. They were all set the night before the attack then for me. They didn't want to do it. But he will say, we're the big partner, and he's the very small partner, and that's true.
Donald Trump is once again reminding Benjamin Netanyahu who he believes is really in charge, casting himself and the United States as the ultimate leader in the relationship. The rift between US and Israel is heating up, with Trump publicly lecturing Netanyahu for a second time over IDF's conduct in Lebanon. Trump has also scolded Israel for allegedly backing out of a joint operation targeting Qasem Soleimani, using the episode to question Israeli resolve. According to Trump's version of events, the US-Israel relationship began to sour as far back as 2020, when Netanyahu supposedly pulled out at the last minute from a planned joint strike. These latest remarks have further strained already fragile ties, signaling that Trump is willing to air grievances in public and that the once tightly coordinated partnership is now under visible stress. Trump again lectured Israel over its Lebanon attacks, reiterating that he is unhappy with the scale, pace, and political impact of Netanyahu's campaign against Hezbollah and Lebanese targets. Speaking from the conference stage, Trump directly criticized Netanyahu's handling of the Lebanon front, arguing that Israel's approach has been excessive, too slow, and damaging to broader US diplomatic efforts. Beyond Lebanon, Trump revived his complaint that Israel allegedly pulled out of a planned strike on Qasem Soleimani, using this to suggest that Washington has repeatedly carried the heaviest risks while Israel has stepped back. He reminded his audience that it was the United States that ultimately carried out the 2020 drone strike that killed Soleimani, reinforcing his narrative that American action, not Israeli participation, delivered the decisive blow. At the same time, Trump said he agreed with Netanyahu's own admission that the US is the big partner in the relationship, making clear that Washington expects its preferences to be respected when it comes to regional wars and peace deals.
Nobody hit Soleimani. You know, when I hit Soleimani, people thought that was the biggest thing to happen in the Middle East for 50 years. That was the biggest event. He was the boss of Iran, and respected, but he was a mad genius. He was a genius. The father of the roadside bomb. When you see young men, and in some cases women, mostly men, walking around without legs, without arms, with a face that's been blown to smithereens, it's Soleimani, 95%, 96.2 they say or something, 95%. That was Soleimani did it. Happened to come from Iran, and I blew him up. You remember that? I blew him up in the Valley of Death. He got off his plane and we followed him, and in all fairness, because they've been wonderful to me, Israel, but they didn't want to do that attack. They were all set the night before the attack then for me. They didn't want to do it, so I had to make a decision. I made the decision to do it. But it was a joint venture, as we say in the real estate business. That was a joint venture between Israel and us. We studied it for a month. We knew what plane he was going to be on almost a month before. He only traveled on commercial airliners, big ones with lots of people, because he knew we wouldn't shoot him down. He's very smart. But we knew he was going to be on that plane. We followed him. And then Israel informed me that they won't do it. And I had to make a decision. I had some very good generals, and not the ones you see on television, very good. And I want to thank also Pete Hegseth and General Raisin Kane, who's phenomenal. Okay, these guys are phenomenal. They can't be better. But I had some good generals, and I said to him, well, if Israel's not going to do it, we're all prepared. Do we do it? Do you like doing it or not? He said, sure. If you want to do it, we can do it. How well? We'll do it just as well or better. We can do it ourselves. We don't need anybody. So we took out Soleimani. One of the biggest events to happen the Middle East, maybe ever, but they say 50 years, they say 100 years. I was with the Prime Minister of Pakistan. He said it's maybe the biggest event that has ever taken place. Nobody could believe it. So that's when it started. It didn't start like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks ago. And Obama wouldn't do it. What Obama did was he did the JCPOA. He loaded up a plane with $1.7 billion in green cash from banks all over Washington, Maryland, and Virginia. They were stripped of all their cash. They had no cash to do payrolls. It all went into a Boeing 757, a wonderful plane, and they flew it to Iran. And they gave it out to people. They bribed people. They thought they were going to get it done. Then they gave billions and billions of dollars after that. And they got a deal that was a road to a nuclear weapon. I get so angry, I guess. I'm allowed to get angry. When I watch the Democrats, they talk about it all the time. We had this deal done. You had a deal that was going to give them, legally, a nuclear weapon. And if that happened, Israel would have been blown away. And in all fairness to Bibi Netanyahu, who happens to be a good man, gets a little excited sometimes. But he happens to be a very good man. We've had an amazing partnership. He's been an amazing prime minister. We have a little dispute over Lebanon. I say, you can do a little softer touch, Bibi. You don't have to knock down a building every time somebody walks into it that's from Hezbollah. But it's been an amazing partnership. But he will say, we're the big partner and he's the very small partner, and that's true.
Relations have taken a sharp dive since Netanyahu ordered new strikes on Lebanon on June 14th, a move that clashed directly with US efforts to lock in a truce and finalize memorandum with Iran. Those attacks landed just as Washington and Tehran were finalizing their memorandum of understanding to end the conflict, making Israel's actions look like a direct challenge to US diplomacy. Once the deal was announced, Israel quickly asked Washington for a copy of the memorandum, seeking to understand exactly what had been agreed between the US and Iran behind closed doors. The US initially turned down that request, deepening Israeli frustration, before Trump later revealed that Washington had eventually sent a copy, though by then the political damage and mistrust were already evident. The US military is reportedly preparing to withdraw around 20% of its refueling aircraft from Israel. The reported move follows recent diplomatic developments between Washington and Tehran. Israeli media reported that the drawdown comes after a truce agreement was reached between the US and Iran. Officials have not publicly linked the redeployment to any specific military decision. Reports suggest a US-Iran memorandum of understanding created a framework aimed at ending hostilities. The agreement is said to focus on reducing tensions between the two countries. Israeli Transport Minister Miri Regev said the US had deployed 72 refueling aircraft at Ben Gurion Airport. The aircraft were positioned there during heightened regional tensions. According to Channel 12, it remains unclear whether the aircraft will leave Israel entirely or be moved elsewhere. No official details on their final destination have been released. U.S. refueling aircraft reportedly occupied nearly half of the available parking area at Ben Gurion Airport. The deployment highlighted the scale of the American military presence during the crisis.
We had a great relationship. We're talking about some end details. I didn't like that he did an attack based on there was a very minor little thing with some drones that were released, and he ends up doing I saw that attack. I saw where that bomb went. Did you see what happened? That was a vicious, that was too much. You can do too much also. But we've had a very effective relationship. Without the United States, there would be no Israel. Without me, there would be no Israel, because no other president was willing to do what I did. I've had a great relationship with Bibi, but now Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon. Lebanon used to be a great country. It was a country where you had professors, doctors, lawyers. The great intellect was in Lebanon. Now it's terrible. I would say of all countries, they've been treated the worst. And they can't defend themselves. And they have Hezbollah, which is a problem for them. So, no, I'm not happy with the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. They should have been able to do the job faster. It just goes on forever. And when that happens, it throws a negative light on the big deal, and that's the deal with Iran. So when you ask me about Bibi, an unbelievable relationship. But Israel would have been blown up a long time ago had I not gotten involved.
A U.S.-Iran peace accord is reportedly expected to be formally signed in Switzerland on June 19th. Officials from both sides have yet to publicly release full details of the agreement. Iranian media claimed the memorandum contains 14 clauses. However, the complete text has not been made public. Reports suggest the agreement may include provisions related to regional security and sanctions. Neither Washington nor Tehran has officially confirmed the reported contents. As President Trump appeared to be shifting away from Israel in his recent stance, the United States envoy to Israel reportedly sent a direct message to him to communicate concerns and clarify the diplomatic position.
Your history is also our history, because without you and your history, and your preserving God's purpose and God's law, there would never be Western civilization. There would never be an America, because America was founded on the principles that were established right here in this land all those many thousands of years ago.